What the frickin' heck is going on? I decided to make a little change to the channel name from Bluebird Enterprises, that sounds kind of like corporate America, to Phantom Motorsports. I think it's a little more fitting, and I think it's going to make more sense in the long term to go with that name. If you see the name changing in these videos, that's why. I might try and go through and change some of the thumbnails or something, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm going to keep making videos and hope you guys enjoy. So I guess welcome to Phantom Motorsports. What is up? So we're back in the garage and we're working on Zed today. I'm going to be making some front end changes to this car. It has basically stock A-arms. Let me pop the hood really quick. It's got the stock A-arms with some Delrin and aluminum bushings in there. So you can see I made these changes a little while back. Hasn't been that long. I haven't had these on there for that long. But their Delrin and aluminum bushings are like Del Alum is what they are called, and I changed out the ball joints and everything. And the car handles pretty good, but the thing is it's pretty soft. The front end's pretty soft. I took it on the autocross last summer. I have some clips, I'll probably throw some in here right now. on the autocross, so you can see me kind of going around the corners, and I noticed that it's, you know, pretty bouncy up front. So I bought basically a full RideTech front end for this. Should be really nice, and the springs are 750 pounds per inch, so it's going to stiffen up the front end a lot. And basically the vision that I have is to get the good front end in here, and then I'll probably also do their 4-link in the back. I don't know if I'm going to make it for this season. The stuff is pretty expensive. It was around $3,000 for the front end, and the rear 4-link is around the same price. And then I would have to do you know, mini tubs. This has stock tubs on it, so it's like another big undertaking similar to what I did with the Nova. So I want to do just the front end, and then do the mini tubs probably in the fall of next year, and also do that 4-link. And then once you have that all done, then you can get some big you know, tires, and I'll get some different wheels. These wheels are steel, so they're kind of heavy, and you know, not the most ideal autocrossing wheel because it's only, I think they're 8 inches wide. I'd probably get some, you know, bigger ones of like 275, I think is kind of the max you can run up front in terms of tire, and then 315 for the back. And I think then the car would, you know, behave a lot differently. So probably in this video I'm going to cover, you know, changing out the front end. I got a kind of a strategy that I'll follow to get these springs out of here. Definitely kind of dangerous putting or taking them out. You know, it's basically just a compressed coil spring that has quite a bit of juice behind it, so you want to be careful. And then I'll be putting on the coilovers and, you know, the front lower and upper A-arms and the sway bar, and that should be really straightforward. You don't have to compress the coilovers or anything, so a lot easier for that. And I'm also getting some autometer gauges. They'll be here for my birthday. It's coming up in a couple days, and I'm changing out the steering wheel. So I'll be making, you know, some changes to this dash. I have this panel over here that, you know, accepts these 3 3/8 gauges, and also these little, you know, lights basically that show high beams, turn signals, battery, and I'll put those in here somewhere, you know, where there's real estate. So it should be a nice little upgrade as well. And lastly, I'm going to be changing the transmission. When we bought this TKO 600, you know, as when me and my dad were restoring this car, we went with the 0.64 overdrive, which is really like high geared when you go into fifth. So, you know, I have real short gearing in it now, so the fifth gear, you know, it's nice to have it nice and long, but you know, you want, or personally I would prefer for it to be shorter. So I bought a 0.82 main shaft in fifth gear. There's like the fifth gear is on the main shaft, and then the matching fifth gear, you change it, I think, on the cluster gear, or, you know, I haven't taken the transmission apart to see how it is, but I'll be changing that out, and then also changing it from 410s in the rear end to 373s. So I think that'll make the car feel a lot more, or it'll be more complementary to the big displacement engine. I feel like the 410s are kind of like more high revving gears. Like if you had a, you know, a small block in here, 327, or like a LS7 LS motor, I think it would feel a lot better because you'd have more rev range. You know, this is more of a mid-range, I would say 2500 to 6000 motor. So when you have those short gears, it really feels kind of like, I don't know how you describe it, very, you know, not appropriate almost is how I'd say. So changing that out should be a welcome change as well. And, you know, getting ready for this next season. It's winter now. I live in Washington, so perfect time to do it. It's all rainy out. And yeah, I'll basically, you know, cut to a time lapse now of getting this front end apart. It should be pretty fun to take it apart and get these changes made. All right, so now the process is while it's, you know, basically in tension, what I'm going to do is pull the cotter pins out on both the ball joints and then loosen the nut a little bit and then hit it with a hammer. Like loosen it just a turn or two. Don't really loosen it and take it off, because that would allow it, if it, if it did, or when you hit it, it would basically come all apart. Super dangerous, because obviously the coil spring, bunch of stored energy there. So you just loosen it like, half a turn or a turn, and then hit this area with a hammer on the spindle, and then it'll come apart and, allow you basically to not have it be swaged kind of on the, conical area of the ball joint. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm probably also just going to put a jack underneath, just for safe measure, in case, God forbid, something crazy did happen, it doesn't just completely let go. And I'll also be using this spring, or this chain that I picked up from Home Depot today. So if in some crazy universe it did somehow just all fail, it doesn't come out and basically hit me. It's super unlikely that that would happen. I mean, so, it's not too much of a concern, but better safe than sorry, right? So I'm gonna get to work on that, and I'll kind of, get a video of when I'm popping them, so you can kind of hear the auditory and also see kind of what I'm doing. So you can see now I have the chain, dialed in there, and I pulled these cotter keys out of both this one and this one. So now, as I said, I'm gonna loosen this lower one first a little bit, and have the jack, kind of maybe down a little bit below it, just in case. And then, hit it basically on these pads with the hammer, and it'll go tink and basically separate. And then I'll use the jack, or once I get both of them, because I'm going to take basically the spindle out and put both control arms on there. So don't want to get into the situation where you just have it hanging off the top and you can't really get it off without pounding on it a lot. So once that's done, then I'll put the jack under here and lower this way down. Obviously take the shock out here and also the sway bar off, and then lower this way down and pry that spring out of there. Someone was recommending that you could, recommending that you could basically use the inner bolts and then lower it down all as one. But I'm not really comfortable with that idea, because I'm worried that it would like kick out or something crazy would happen. So I'm gonna go with what I know, and it should work pretty good. Also took the rotor off of here just so I have more space, and have my caliper hanging with some downrigger cable. So we should be good to go. And we're making progress. Pretty simple, but definitely kind of dangerous. So be careful. Work at your own risk, right? So as you guys saw, they basically just kind of pop a little bit, and then it's free to, it's like broken off the conical shape of the ball joint. It's basically so they don't move in the ball joint, it moves within itself. And now I'm gonna take off the sway bar, and while this is compressed, I'll take those nuts off, and obviously make sure you have your jack under there before you're taking off the nuts, otherwise it'll just open up, make a really dangerous situation. And make sure you have it positioned so it's kind of like locked in there and I can't get kicked out by the lower A-arm. So that'll allow me, or I'll basically take the spindle out and then lower everything down and wedge that spring out of there. And during this time, obviously, as usual, highly recommend wearing safety glasses when you're doing any sort of any type of work where you're basically allowing forces to come free or compress or anything like that. Definitely get those safety glasses on, and some earplugs go a long way as well, in case there is some loud banging noise. So I'm gonna get to work taking this off, and then I'll show you what it looks like without the spindle on there, and I'll basically video lowering the lower A-arm down. So it's going good, pretty standard stuff. I always stop filming at the most critical times, but I got this apart. I'll definitely, film the other side when I'm taking it down. This is definitely the best way to do it, definitely the safest, and got my chain in here holding it in case something went wrong. So all fingers intact and everything, and yeah, I'll get basically this all taken out. I'll probably wait to do the A-arms, get the hard part done. A-arms coming out is super easy. So we'll see you on the other side, and yeah, mission accomplished on this side. All right, so I'm down here getting to work, and right now I'm putting the chain on the spring. I kind of screwed up the order of operations on the other side. And what happened was I didn't take the shock out, which made me have to like put the A-arm back up and crawl underneath there and kind of put me in harm's way. That's not what you want. So first thing I'm doing is putting the chain on. Then I'm going to take the shock out using these two bolts, and you kind of spin it so it can go through. Then I'm gonna, do that process where I split them apart up here. Obviously take, like the other side, take the rotor off, or take the caliper off, then take the rotor off, give me some more room, split those, and then once the shock is out, then I can lower it, and it should go a lot smoother. So that's what I'm working on, and I'll definitely get a video of, lowering the spring down so you can see that, and also probably a time lapse of me taking all this apart. Probably kind of look like I know what I'm doing on this side, but now that I got everything, you saw I basically separated them, sway bar off, shock is loose, so now I'm jacking it up with this, right? So these are nice and tight. Basically you can't spin them anymore with your fingers, so now I'll use the jack on here, and I'm trying to kind of get it in this pocket so it can't really come out. And then what I'll do is I'll basically jack it up just enough to get some tension off of it, so you can basically get underneath here with this and take these nuts off completely. But since the jack is under there, right, it can't come apart. So that's what I'm obviously doing now. And there might be a little bit of tension on there, but no problem. It's kind of, you want it basically so you can spin these off. You don't really want it to have tension on the threads, so I'm doing both. Got the bottom off there. Now I'm doing the top. So this guy. And this one, it'll probably kind of, won't get that loose because it's basically kind of gravity pulling it down. So you can kind of hold it, get it off of there. But you can see it kind of wants to come apart already. So I'll put the light on here, and now all you gotta do is let the jack out, and you're good. Freaking go, man. And you gotta make sure that this shock goes through here, because the shock will keep it from coming apart. So you kind of gotta spin this. Obviously not ideal being underneath here. You gotta do what you gotta do out here. Boom. So now, the spring, this side, it looks like it's still kind of in the pocket there. So I might have to wedge it out using crowbar that I bought. But that's basically the process, and it's pretty much uncompressed. So good to go. Now I'll pry it out and then start taking the A-arms out completely. So on this side, the header's kind of in the way, so you can't pull it down as much. But I'm just going to take the shock out, basically alongside this, just 2 nuts up here, and that drops out. And then just bolt back there for the lower control arm. And then up here, you know, there's just the 2 studs that hold it on. And then we're pretty much, you know, completed with taking this front end apart. Obviously I have to take the sway bar off, but pretty straightforward, and definitely excited to have some coilovers on here. So I believe these are like big block springs with a little drop. It's, you know, I found it on a forum a long time ago, but I think they're around 350 to 400 pounds per inch of compression. And what I bought for the coilovers are 750 pounds per inch. So going to be a lot more stiff, which is kind of what you want when you're going around a circuit or on the autocross. And also, you know, the actual shock itself is quite a bit more significant. So once all the parts come in, I'll kind of go over that with you guys, and you know, obviously show you guys installing it too. Kind of hot in here. I got the heat going, but we're getting it done. Made a handy dandy tool to get the frickin' sway bar off of there, so got that off. And now I'm working on, you know, obviously still got to get these lower and uppers off, but I'm looking and I'm pretty sure that I'm not able to get the uppers off completely because of how close the header is to these bolts down here. Kind of hard to see. If I had my light, you could see it better. So I think I might have to jack the engine up. Not ideal, but gonna have to do the same thing to get those other arms on there. So I'll probably pull the lowers off today, and then figure out how to get the uppers off maybe another time. It's getting a little late. All right, we're back on this thing for another day. So I'm fighting the good fight on this side. I think this is the hardest side to get this upper control arm off. Basically it hits the header, and also back here it hits the steering column. So I went ahead, you know, I'm gonna be putting these gauges in anyways, so gotta drop the steering column. So I dropped it. Super simple, you know, I don't think it's even worth filming. Just a few screws and then a couple bolts, and, you know, some bolts on the firewall. So I'll, you know, go into that, you know, kind of what I'm doing there after I kind of get this done up here. So yeah, basically I think I'm gonna have to undo the header from the donut, basically where it connects to the actual exhaust, and try and like rotate it upward to push this inward. Basically there's not enough space in between this rod and where the header is, you know, when it's all put together. So you try, and it's like so close, but not enough space. All right, so you can see no front end on there any longer. You know, I got that out. Basically I just had to undo the bolts on the header here, undo the donut, and let it roll down. And then I had enough space, and I actually got rid of that front end component that you see right here. So someone got a good deal on this. You know, nice bushings in there, good ball joints, and, you know, a good big sway bar. So yeah, everything's out of here. I got rid of those, or the rear springs as well, and you know, made some money there. Help with the financial damage of buying all this tubular stuff. So I'm gonna cut the video off here. Really appreciate everyone watching, and definitely some other videos coming in the future. Still waiting on the upper control arms, but those should be here soon. And I'm gonna put in some more clips here. You know, this is me on the course and the drag strip, so, you know, if you're interested, keep watching. Definitely longer video this time, so if you did make it to the end, really appreciate it. We'll see you guys next time. Hey, thanks for stopping in at the Phantom Motorsports YouTube channel, formerly known as Bluebird Enterprises. If you like what you saw, smash that thumbs up button, and hopefully you're leaving with a bigger smile than you came in with.